All right, I believe we are live on Facebook, and we want to welcome Robin back to our Wednesday Wellness. Yay, Robin! She's been
Yay.
just for a bit, and she's all refreshed and ready to go.
I
And then
am.
we also have Lori back, who's been my partner in crime the last 2 weeks, filling in with Robin.
Thank you, Lori.
I know.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Lori.
Thank you guys, really,
So,
seriously.
we appreciate you. And so today we're talking about a Lewy body, which is a form of dementia. Lori's father experienced this, and we think it's really important to talk about it. I know, Robin, you wanted to say something as well before we get started.
Oh, the only thing Kim had said we were going to talk with Lori about this. So of course I always like to look up things, and I had heard of Lewy body. And then I started thinking, and of course I Googled, Mr. Google, how many different types of dementia are there? And I was blown away because I did not know there's 100 different types of dementia. And I mean, that's kind of scary. And there's 4 categories that fall under like dementia, main categories, and they're Alzheimer's, vascular, Lewy body, and frontotemporal. And then underneath that are the 100 of all the individual things that can happen. So we want to know Lori's story. She's going to tell us a little bit about her dad who had Lewy body, and then we're going to tell everybody what we have learned and researched to help you keep this away from you, right? Because no one wants dementia, and mostly your family members don't want you to have dementia, because from what I've heard, it's harder on the family than it is on the actual patient. And Lori, you can tell us about that.
Yeah, I was one of the caregivers for my dad. My mom is still, was still with him, and my sister and brother, all of us, did what we could to just, our parents are aging. We are the Gen X, and our parents are now aging, and we're taking care of them. And so I was the child in the family that we lived the closest to my parents, and so I took him to all of his appointments. And let's see, we're at 2026. So about in, I would say 2022, my dad was, just going for normal checkups, and just some things weren't quite right with his blood work. And so we just started doing, I guess, what we traditionally do is start that process of going to doctor appointment after doctor appointment. And then I think it was 2022, my dad was ill with COVID later that year and was hospitalized. And that's when we started to see some things after he came home and recovered from that. That's when we started to see some unusual symptoms that dad hadn't displayed prior to that. Like when he was in the hospital, the doctors kept saying to me, "Are you sure he wasn't doing this at home? Are you sure?" And I was getting angry with the doctor, because no, my dad was vibrant. He was biking at the YMCA 12 miles a day. He was walking on the treadmill. He was very active. He was in like 3 or 4 different local boards in his community. He was, sharp, all the things. And I just really got angry. So one of the things that we know about COVID is it causes inflammation in the body, right? That's been shared. And so unfortunately for my dad, while he was there, one of the areas that was really hit hard was his brain with that inflammation. And so what we noticed happening is, his gait changed a little bit. He was starting to be unable to do tasks that were very, very easy for him. My dad was Mr. Fix It. He could fix anything.
Yeah.
Anything. Like, I'm like, how do you have all that knowledge in your head? And he could. And I mean, like simple things. And then one of the symptoms of dementia, and yes, he was diagnosed with Lewy body, but of dementia, and it can be in other forms too, is he started to have some hallucinations. And it was during when he was sick that he started having them, but we just assumed it was because he was sick.
Yeah, yeah.
And nothing, in my opinion, nothing really scary, because once you start diving into this realm of dementia, you get those symptoms, and especially with Lewy body patients, they can have very vivid hallucinations. They can be kind of threatening to the people that are around them. So, there's so many different scenarios. So, as we continued on this journey of trying to figure out why he was having he was seeing the things that he was seeing that nobody else could, we went to the eye doctor, and my dad was 85 and had perfect vision. Why? I'm like, other than cheaters. I'm like, dude,
Wow. Wow.
we went and we were hoping that there was something going on ocularly, but it wasn't. And so basically we just kept trying to figure it out until we went and saw a neurologist, and her opinion based on her assessment of him, the things that they do a lot of different things. She wasn't 100% sure, because what we learned about Lewy body is it cannot be actually diagnosed until you're post-mortem. And they look at the brain. But with what symptoms he was having, that was the extreme end of what he was doing. Because like I said, his gait was changing. His short-term memory was not great. But when she was doing all of the assessment, the things that she asked him to do, he passed it with flying colors. But that's part of my dad. Like, he would make sure that he could do all those things.
Yeah.
And then that following year, it just continued to get worse. And that was November of 2024 is when they gave that specific diagnosis, meaning that they think it was that. And he did have some symptoms of Parkinson's, but not the disease. And we did sleep studies. We did everything we could do that we knew of. And my sister and I are voracious readers and researchers. So when we learned of that, my sister got in a study. I did everything I could do, found studies online for treatments and things like that. And that's just part of who I am, in the realm that we are as health coaches. We want to understand what our clients are experiencing.
Right.
But when it happens to someone you love, that's a challenge. And unfortunately for my dad, in July, he took a turn and started to have some we called episodes, not sleeping up during the night, not recognizing where he was. He knew who we were. He wasn't ever afraid, but it just got more and more intense. And to the point where we had to take him to the hospital. And unfortunately, after that, he did not come back home. So
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was living at home till
yes.
to the hospital.
Yes, and we were doing everything possible, and I had already in my mind committed that if we needed to keep him home, that I was going to care for him as much as I possibly could.
Yeah.
But it got to a point where it's, safety is involved for everyone around.
Right.
Right.
When you go through this. And when I wanted to talk about they call them night terrors. My dad did not experience that level, just the research that I've done, that some symptoms, and I entered some Facebook groups as well, but they literally had what was called night terrors and could be dangerous. But my father never experienced that, thank goodness, and my mother. But it was enough that was unsettling, the things that we did experience for my dad, because he certainly wouldn't have wanted to know that that was happening to him.
Right. Yeah.
And so,
sorry, we're going to say something
no,
else.
it's okay. No, go ahead.
I just want to say, Lewy body was not on my radar till, I don't know, about 8 years or 9 years or so ago, maybe a little bit longer. But the first time I'd heard about it was when a friend who we haven't lived in the same state for years, but we exchanged Christmas cards every year. And she sent a Christmas card one year and described her husband who passed away from Lewy body, what was going on. And I was like, just in shock, first of all, because I had not heard about it, and it did not sound like something you want to get and something you don't want to wish on anyone.
No.
And so that was the first time I'd heard of it. I thought, wow. And obviously brain related. And I'm very much interested into brain health because my father-in-law has Parkinson's. I've dealt with migraines. I've healed myself from migraines, but they're all kind of lumped together with brain
Right.
issues, brain health. And so that's why I'm very just intrigued by this, and my mom has dementia too, so it's something that, and we'll talk about ways, now I'm learning more and more. Lori and I are in a course now where we're learning more about how food affects our brain, of course, and especially healthy fats,
Mhm.
and that's something that we've talked about before, but and our society is such a consumer of ultra processed foods that, a lot of people are pointing fingers at that, obviously. But I know, so Lori, once your father went in the hospital, then did he go downhill quickly, or was he aware
Well, at
too
the
of what was?
stage, I mean, he knew we were going. He knew we were going to the hospital. He could tell them everything that they asked him. He didn't need any help from us. I mean, like that was my dad. Like that was our routine. And then what they try to do is what's hard about Lewy body is there's no cure, and two, there are no real medications
Mm,
that like they just have to it's almost like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what works and
yeah.
what sticks, because you could give somebody the same medication and it could make them have really awful experiences,
Mm,
other symptoms. So it's like there's no rhyme or reason. That's what's really, really tough about Lewy body. And I wanted to just mention that the difference between Lewy body and most other dementias is that there is a protein that's deposited in the brain. They're called Lewy bodies, and why I don't remember exactly why it's called Lewy body.
Oh,
If that's
I
It's
know why.
it's the guy's
the
name. Yeah. Oh
person's
yeah.
name. I
Named
assumed
The
that.
doctor.
Dr.
Which
Louis.
was
Yeah.
Yeah,
long
Dr. Louis.
ago.
That's
Long
right.
time ago.
Right.
Discovered a
Yes.
long time ago.
And
Yeah.
so, they, and part, like you had said, Kim, part of the things that I've researched about it is ultra processed, like cured meats. Like my dad, like when he was working, I remember what he took every day for lunch, Oscar Mayer bologna and a sandwich with white bread.
Yeah.
That was my dad,
Yeah.
and every morning toast for bread, like it's when you can sit back in hindsight. I mean, he was a healthy guy up until that point, right? But certain things, he was a fireman
Mm,
for 20 plus years. He worked in the housing industry when he was young. So, environmental toxins,
Sure.
all these things can take, its toll on the body too. But certainly one of the things you can control is what you put in your body. You guys talk about this every week, probably in every discussion we've ever
A
had.
lot.
Right. But yes, when he got into the hospital, they were trying to um, find something that could help him relax,
mm,
help him to sleep, because his sleep was all messed up.
yeah.
And like the drugs that are supposed to help can, like I said, it can have a worse effect on someone. And so they're just kind of trying to figure it out. And because he was already associated with palliative care, we were recommended to take him to the emergency room because then they would follow him.
Okay.
And then once he was there about a week, and then we contacted hospice.
Mm,
And again, people also misunderstand hospice. That might be another talk for another time. But at that point in time with dad and what his wishes were, we knew that, we didn't know, because I believe God is in control, but we knew it probably wasn't going to be a long period of time. But we also were hopeful that we could bring him home because that's where
Yeah.
he wanted to be.
right.
But we got him to the best place that we could possibly take him other than home. And we were there until, the final minute.
Yep.
But it was, my sister and I did all the research. We knew the worst parts of Lewy body. We
Mhm.
knew where it could go. And when we look back, he had one bad week.
Wow.
So when we think about where it could have gone, because you can
Sure.
lose your ability to swallow.
Oh,
And if you've never, had an opportunity, I've never felt what that feels like to not be able to swallow, other than having a really sore throat, which you can
Yeah.
still swallow.
Right.
You lose that ability. And we were, you can't talk, like
mm,
so many things that were so much worse than what he was experiencing was pretty bad. But we were grateful that he'd only really truly had one really, really bad week.
Well, that's good.
So that was a blessing in disguise. But
Right.
certainly, yes, there are things that we can do now, because this usually starts, I think I read yesterday, 20 to 30 years prior, like the
Mm.
changes in your brain.
Yeah.
So you can do things now to help that from progressing. Certainly staying healthy, not getting sick, and keeping inflammation in your body down. Blood flow to the brain is huge
Right. Yep.
for any dementia, making sure you have proper blood flow. And they're doing some testing now with creatine in some of the homes now, and they're having some success. It's not reversing, but they're having some success with it. So how crazy is that?
Right.
Do your research on some creatine too, with all the new brain research that's coming out with that. So
Lori, are you talking about the creatine specifically for Lewy body or generally for dementia patients? Because that's what I
generally
read.
for dementia.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not specifically Lewy body, but just
Right.
generally for dementia. And that it does help the blood flow to get to the brain too.
Yes.
So
Yeah. And
there,
nitric.
we could talk about other supplements or things that beet powder. That's another one that's that vasculates. So, I mean, certainly lots of things that we can talk about, but certainly everything that you guys talk about every Wellness Wednesday.
Yeah.
So
I
we're
mean, the
probably blue in the
exercise.
face,
And
staying
they
active.
call it like Alzheimer's, like diabetes 3 for a reason. The same things that we do for diabetes, regular diabetes, you want to do for Alzheimer's is, do your workouts, strength train, work your brain, get good sleep. I mean, it's all the things we constantly harp on. I feel like we harp on it, but for good reason. I mean,
but it crosses so many bridges of everything that we do and encounter as humans. I mean, like my dad, once he retired, he stayed active as much as possible, not just physically, but involved. And when that last thing he couldn't be involved in anymore, then it was, if I were to say it, I think part of it was he lost his sense of purpose.
Sure.
Because he was unable to do the things that he was doing, and couldn't understand why.
Yeah.
So having that, just continuing to, have something to look forward to every single day.
Yeah. I think it's big. Well, it's interesting because your dad was doing a lot of the right things, maybe not the bologna sandwich, but he was being active, and
and believe me, we were putting this up, Dad, we needed to, we need these supplements. So he would take them, but not, he would, well, I don't know if I want to try that. I'm like, okay. So it's, you also have to respect their individuality too.
That's true. And the interesting thing when Robin brought up type 3 diabetes, well, look, type 2 diabetes is basically lifestyle driven through the food you eat and lack of movement. And type 3 diabetes is the same thing. It's an overinflux of sugar and glucose inducing foods that overstimulate your system, basically, to put it in a nutshell. But it's on the rise, which is scary. All the brain things going on. And we live in a toxic world. We've talked about this many times too, that we can't control everything, but what we can control or try to control, just trying not to use toxic products and or toxic foods, or I say toxic foods, stuff that's in the foods that makes that can harm us.
But they are toxic foods. I mean, in the end, it's a toxic food.
Our body doesn't recognize.
Right.
Yes, our body doesn't recognize.
It doesn't recognize it, so it's got to figure out what to do with it. And if it doesn't know what to do with it, then it's an unfortunate effect of that.
Right.
And it's a direct effect. It's not a side effect. It's a direct effect on your body.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's associated too is sleep. And they're looking back over time with my dad as we dissected things, thinking we felt like it came on so suddenly, but as you look back, of course, hindsight's 2020, we saw some things that may have been a part of that. And one was sleep. He was supposed to have a sleep study like 15 years ago and he didn't do it.
Yeah.
And we may have discovered that, maybe not,
Right.
Another driver is alcohol.
Yes.
And I think that's my mom's, might have brought hers on, 'cause she was not a heavy drinker, but a constant drinker, and I drank a lot socially, and it was a big thing, and so in her life, and so I think that might have, looking back, because the alcohol doesn't do anything for your gut health, and
Yeah.
not to put that down for anybody, but it's like it's true. It's called it's a considered a type 1 carcinogenic now by the WHO.
Mhm.
That so anyway, it's that can drive it as well. And my mom was a walker. She sleeps like 12 hours. I wish I could sleep like her, but I think the alcohol was a thing that triggered for her, so it's hard to say, but when you start looking back at things, lifestyle and food and all that kind of stuff, then you can kind of put the pieces together. So
Was she a smoker, Kim?
she was until her 40s. Yes.
And that's a big one too.
Yep, that's a big one.
Yeah.
And she was a
Yeah.
smoker. She quit, thankfully. They say your lungs, can recover, which is good eventually, but
But
yeah,
can your brain? I mean,
yeah,
you know,
right. So
Well, and we don't know, we really truly don't know what all chemicals are in that. So,
Mhm.
right.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's where
Right.
we are. And
right.
then it's the other issue, as you said, it's on the rise,
Mhm.
and there are not going to be enough of the younger generations to care for
Mm,
whether they're going to, I mean, it's pretty scary. That's all I
Yeah.
gotta say. Like, my kids' generation they're not going to be enough of those kids to take care of their parents.
well, that's why we're not going to end up like that.
Right.
Yes.
That's why we do what we do, not to, we're
Exactly.
not ever here to shame anybody or to make anybody feel bad about their choices, but you do have control
Mhm.
over your health. You do. And
Yep.
it's just a decision away. And it's not easy, but it is simple things that you can change on a regular basis that can
Yep.
help you. And that's part of, like, I'm now think about my brain. Is this thing I want to eat really going to help my brain or not? And
Right.
so I kind of go, oh, well, not today.
Yeah.
Especially if I haven't, had a really poor sleep or whatever.
Mhm.
Like, if you compound those things over time, that's
Right.
the
Sure.
part that hurts. If it's once in a
Yep.
while, obviously it's not super detrimental, but yeah.
Yeah.
So just strive to do your best.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, and that's what I do. I strive to do my best. I'm not perfect,
Mm-mm.
Well,
but I
nobody
do
is. Yeah.
strive to do my best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I appreciate you sharing, Lori, because I know it's hard,
Yeah.
but I feel like it's such a powerful story on, what can happen, and it's we don't want to sweep it under the rug and ignore it. I think
Right.
talking about it brings more attention to it, and reminding us what can help us to age better and take care of our brains and stuff. So
Well,
yeah.
even with us, like, I didn't know there were the 100
Mm-mm.
types of dementia
I
until
neither.
we were going to do this. So I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that don't know that. People have not heard of Lewy body. I'm sure that someone listening right now is like, oh my gosh, I didn't know about this. And when I looked it up, guys, the guy discovered the Lewy body in 1912
Yeah, how bad
in Germany,
how about that? In 1912,
right?
we still don't
Yep.
have anything.
And it's because he was doing Parkinson's research at
Mhm.
that. So look how long, right?
Yeah, over 100 years.
So
That's crazy.
So, well, thank you very much, Lori. We really
yes, Lori,
appreciate
thanks.
you
Anytime.
sharing, and I hope it was helpful to anybody listening. Just help you in some small way, and because that's what we're here for. We like to share
Yep.
this. So we want us to say we hope you have fun, live young. We'll see you next week, and yeah, please comment below what you took away from this, because we'd be interested in that. So.
Or any questions. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I have my own expertise in what I learned during that time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you, Lori, for that.
Thankfully.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
See you
Thanks,
later.
everyone. Bye-bye.